On the inside of Talon, that black boat, Team Hydra. And on the inside of that comes Hot, followed by Concrete Cat. And on the outside of them, it's Wildcat. Tough Enough, the Canadian entry, is on the outside of them. And then we go to Pipeline, Finish Line. The hard-charging American Express is there. And then as we get to the outside of the lane, you've got Scaredy Cat and Island Runner. The full field is out here today. We've got quite a good-looking field. You see the city of Buffalo in the background there. And look at some of the many spectators who are lining the break wall there. Actually, the harbor inlet for today's race. And there you get a close-up look of that fleet right there in the center, that white and red boat, Talon Comp. And on the inside of him, it's Lethal Weapon. Right there is Pipeline Express. Well, we've got the green flag, and the 1989 Ultra Can-Am Challenge is officially underway, and what a clean start it is right now. You see those small skater boats going out to a quick early lead right now over the bigger boats. Right there on the inside, we've got Showdown. There you have Talon Comp right in the middle. On the outside of him, that's Hydra, and Pipeline on the outside of Hydra. Very clean start. There you see Talon going by. Hydra is right there, and Showdown is on the inside of the screen. Excellent racing. Very clean start right now, as you can see. And those skaters have taken a quick early lead, joined by the hard-charging American Express in the lead pack of boats. And speaking of that lead pack of boats, there you have it, American Express. The yellow boat in the middle, Tough Enough, and Wildcat on the inside. Tough Enough, the hard-charging boat who has come down from Ontario, Canada. This boat is owned by Mark Weigel. It is driven by Dana Hamill, and Mark Weigel is on the throttles. This 24-foot skater, dueling right in the middle of your picture there, is powered by two Mercury EFI motors. And now you look back on the rest of the pack, and it still is sorting out right now, starting to find their own lanes. But right there, we still have Wildcat and American Express taking a quick early lead right there. Wildcat on the inside, American Express on the outside of him. And Mark Weigel's Tough Enough is staying with this group of boats right now. The Canadian entry, Tough Enough. Mark Weigel, Dana Hamill making up the Tough Enough race team from Canada. That's Wildcat right there. C10 looking very strong right now. And now we come up on the Showdown race team. This is a 32-foot all-red skater powered by three Mercury 2.4 EFI outboard motors. This boat is owned by Bill Matijovich, who is doing the throttles. Ed Halcomb is your driver and is also doing the navigation. Matijovich doing an excellent job on the throttling right there, as you can hear. As you can see, we've got a little more chop out here in this part of the race course, but certainly none to worry about. Showdown will be dueling today with Team Hydra and Talon Comp 37, who you saw earlier on in that exciting start. Showdown right now looks very strong. They've gotten off to a very good lead. They're well out in front of the pack, and they're running very strong right there, as you can see. A boat that has come up to challenge the Showdown race team on the inside is D44, the Lethal Weapon race team. And here they are, Lethal Weapon. This sleek 1987 41-foot Apache is powered by two Rogers Speed Shop motors with 750 horsepower each. A lot of power here. This boat is owned by Lester Carrillo from Sparta, New Jersey, who's doing the driving today. And he's got Billy Martin on the throttles, and Donald Purley is your navigator. This boat has had a very strong '89 campaign. They took a second in Newburyport, a second in Point Pleasant, so they certainly need to have a good showing here today to try to have a good standing in the final standings of their division. At the present point in time, these Rogers Speed Shop motors are performing very strongly right now. They're putting out a lot of power right now. Carrillo's doing a great job. Bill Martin's doing a fantastic job throttling here today. They certainly seem to have their water, and Lethal Weapon has taken a quick early lead in the overall standings right now. The Lethal Weapon race team running very well here in Buffalo, New York. Martin doing a tremendous job of throttling. And right here you really see Lethal Weapon Race Team doing some exciting flying right there, as you can see, as they're rounding this break wall. That was a good bit of racing right there. You saw 3 successive jumps, and that last one really catapulted them for quite a distance out of the water. Good running here by the Lethal Weapon Race Team. They're certainly all business today, and they're charging very hard. Lester Carrillo's Lethal Weapon Race Team. There you see the industrial skyline of Buffalo in the background. Now we're back to the fast-moving Showdown race team. These guys are certainly a story. Just yesterday, they took a first place in the race in Ohio. They've come out here, and the boat seems to be running just as well. They were first overall in yesterday's race. They're the unofficial 1989 Central Division High Points champion, and Ed Halcomb is the 1989 Driver of the Year. So Matatovich and Halcomb, making up the Showdown race crew, have certainly had a very strong race weekend right now. With a first place in Ohio in the Central Division, they've come out here to Buffalo, and they're running very strong right now in their division. It's going to be a duel between Showdown and Team Hydra for first place in Pro Stock in today's race. The Showdown race team having a great day so far. And there they go by the host of today's race, Shooter's Pub, with Buffalo in the background. Excellent setting for offshore powerboat racing in the northeast region of this country. Buffalo, New York, a great city, home of the NFL's Buffalo Bills, is certainly getting behind offshore powerboat racing here in a big way. From Buffalo, New York, the Showdown race team. As you can see, the crew of Showdown really has this boat dialed in quite nicely, running very strong through the rough seas, as you can see, and we wish them all the best. Now we come up to P26, Talon Comp 37. This 37-foot pink and white Talon is powered by 3 Mercury outboard motors with 250 horsepower apiece. This boat is sponsored by Talon. They've had 5 years of race history under their belts, and it's really starting to come together for Talon Powerboats. This boat is owned by Gary Armington of Sarasota, Florida. He's got Greg Strickland as his driver today, and Armington is doing the throttles. Right now, the boat is in a classic duel with Team Hydra, Showdown, who you just saw earlier on, who's having a fantastic run so far, and Talon will be dueling all day in the Pro Stock competition. Talon boats, they're custom manufacturers of the exciting Talon 18-footer, 21-foot, 22-foot, 25-foot, and the 37-foot, which you see right here. They're 2-time winners of the Powerboat Magazine Outboard Boat of the Year. And right now, they're looking very good in this 37-foot Talon Special. Obviously, they've come all the way up from Sarasota, Florida to grace the waters here in Buffalo, New York. They're putting on a great show for the fans here in Buffalo, and we wish them all the best as this race starts to unwind. From Buffalo, New York, the Talon Comp 37. Right now we're on D27, the boat known as BFI Systems. This sleek 39-foot white thoroughbred race hull is powered by two Mercury inboard motors with 750 horsepower each. This boat is owned and driven by Ron Greenwood. He's got Steve Stepp on throttles, and his navigator is Bob Riley. Joe Argusa is your crew chief. It's an excellent crew right now, and they're looking very strong right now. BFI Systems, the Browning Ferris Industries sponsored boat, has come out, and they're looking very strong right now. D-Class is going to be very tough today. You've got the hard-charging American Express, Lethal Weapon, Island Runner, Gold Rush. They're all going to be there, and BFI right now is in the hunt, tracking down the lead pack in his class. In some of the other classes right now, Joe Rose Fever has already taken a commanding lead in B class. Chairman Jr. MRD, second to none, dueling it out in A class. Tough Enough still hanging in with Wildcat and Pipeline. Tough Enough you saw earlier on at the start of the race. Lethal Weapon looking very strong right now, starting to stretch his lead out in D class. Ravon, Fast Lane, Insanity and Stock, Pro Stock, Team Hydra, who's in a tight duel today with Talon Comp 37, who you just saw, and Showdown are dueling it out in Pro Stock. But right now, the story on the screen is BFI Systems. Ron Greenwood, Steve Stepp, and Bob Riley making up the BFI Systems race team. We wish them all the best from Buffalo, New York. Good close-up shot of the crew of BFI Systems, looking very comfortable right now. And that's American Express whizzing by on the outside, the hard-charging American Express. BFI not getting rattled. The boat has a very good attitude right now. They seem to be running very strong right now. We hope they have a good run for the rest of the race. BFI Systems. Now we come up on the hard-charging boat D19 American Express. This 30-foot Chris Cat is powered by two Chevrolet Offshore racing motors with Merc Cruiser drives. This boat is owned by Jimmy Cesani, who's doing the throttles today from Jamestown, Rhode Island. You get a good job. You can hear his work right now. Lanny Dellinger is the driver. Crew chief is Carl Windsor. This team is phenomenal. What more can we say? A picture-perfect run of success for 89. They've had a first in Newburyport, a first in Point Pleasant, a first in Rochester, a first in Barnegat. So needless to say, they're going to be very tough to beat here today, and they're running very strong in class right now. This team could be your eventual overall winner, high points in class for this year. We'll see how the race shakes down as we go on, but right now Cesani really has his boat dialed in quite nicely, and American Express is blistering around the race course. From Buffalo, New York, the hard-charging boat known as American Express. Now we come up on C41, the boat known as Pipeline Express. This is a 30-foot red and white Shadow, powered by twin 500 horsepower Chevy inboard motors with Merc Cruiser drives. This boat is owned and driven by Bob Shug of Lavallette, New Jersey. Dave Koch is your navigator, and Rich Dancision is on throttles. Pipeline Express, a very good year for them also. First at Newburyport, first at Point Pleasant, and a second at Freeport has put Pipeline Express right in the thick of things for C-Class. They're looking very strong right now, and we will be having a duel today with Finish Line. So it's between Shug's boat, Pipeline Express, and Finish Line. Finish Line certainly needs to have a good run today to take the checkered flag for his class. We wish them all the best. But this boat looks very good right now. As you can see, they are on the rough leg of the course right now. But Shug and Dancision really have this boat dialed in quite nicely. They're propelling themselves very well over this rough water right here. Dancision's doing a great job on the throttles, and we wish them all the best here today in Buffalo, New York. C41, the Pipeline Express race team. Now we have the other competitor who is dueling with Pipeline, who you just saw. This is Benzel Bush's Finish Line race team. This 30-foot Chris Craft is powered by two Bandit racing motors with 500 horsepower apiece. This boat is owned by Jim Della Terza and Joe Calabro. Joe Gertaza is your driver, Joe Calabro is on throttles, and that makes up the crew with Jimmy Della Terza as your crew chief. This boat has had a very good 89. They've taken a second in Point Pleasant, first in Rochester as well as first overall that day, first in Freeport, and a first in Barnegat Bay. So they're looking very strong right now. An interesting story happened for Finish Line. Yesterday in qualifying and in preparation for the boat, there was just some mechanical problems that couldn't quite get worked out, and American Express has helped them throughout most of the evening in trying to troubleshoot the boat and just get it running right for today. So that's certainly a good bit of camaraderie between the American Express race team and Finish Line. The success for Finish Line can be attributed partly to some of the loyal sponsorships that they've had throughout '89. Essex Locksmith, Gaccioni, radios by Motorola, Pallotti Auto Parts, and Benzel Bush's Mercedes-Benz. So the combination of all these people and the loyal crew, along with Della Terza and Calabro, make up a very strong, hard-charging running Finish Line race team. From Buffalo, New York, it's C5, Benzel Bush's Finish Line. Good looking race boat right there. Calabro and Gortaza tucked in quite nicely in their custom fitted racing capsules. And there you see them come out of the water, but not a problem. They feel very secure and comfortable in those racing capsules. They have a lot of confidence behind them, and they're running very strong right now. There you see them passing a smaller boat, and Finish Line is certainly on a mission today. They're running very well. Joe Calabro and Joe Gortaza, forming the Finish Line race team, are certainly having a very good run here today. That's second to none, the red boat on the inside that Finish Line has just passed. Now we're back to second to none. This is an A boat, A115. It is a 30-foot checkmate powered by 2 Mercury inboard motors with 400 horsepower apiece. This boat is owned by Mark Tangus from Holmdel, New Jersey, and Tom Sugar from Wanto, New York is your driver. Doc Sanafilippo makes up the crew chief for this boat, second to none. Mark owns North Jersey Air Service Trucking. He's a 5-year veteran on the circuit. Tom of Tomahawk Interiors is doing the interiors and sponsoring some of the boat. Doing a very fine job right now. Mark Tangus, Tom Sugar making up the second to none race team. And slightly ahead of second to none, that's MRD race team. These are 2 A-class boats. You've got MRD second to none, and also in the hunt for things but not in your picture is Chairman Jr. All A-class boats. Some very good competition right now, and these boats are head-to-head right now. MRD on the outside of your picture right there, and the hard-charging second to none, who right now does not want to be second to none, who wants to be in first place, is doing very well. Second to none and MRD are locked in a fierce battle right now in A-class. Running neck and neck right now. Second to none takes about a boat length lead over RC's MRD. Getting lined up with the next checkpoint, looking back to seeing how much distance is between themselves and MRD, who's right behind them. Very good racing right now in A-class between second to none and MRD. Barring any unforeseen difficulties right now, it's going to be a fight to the finish between second to none and MRD. Now we come up on second to none's biggest nemesis right now, MRD. Boat number A12, the MRD race team. It is a sleek 27-foot Carrara powered by 2 Mercury inboard motors with 375 horse apiece. That's Island Runner going by MRD on the inside. Obviously different class boat, so certainly not a problem for RC's MRD. This boat is owned, driven, and throttled by RC, and his cousin, Frank Schweizer, is your navigator. RC would like to extend a special thanks to his cousin Frankie for all the help that he's done in helping to prepare the MRD race team. MRD are user high-performance riggers on Long Island, handling some of the most exotic high-performance rigging available in the Long Island area. MRD race team. MRD has been a true story of consistency throughout the year. They've taken a second in Newburyport, third in Point Pleasant, second in Freeport, second in Barnegat. So with that consistent running and some of the jostling of the other boats in class, MRD is presently in first place. So with a good finish here today and staying true to form with perhaps a second, that should be enough to have RC's MRD your overall championship in the stock A class in today's race. So we'll have to see how things unfold, but we are starting to draw toward the latter stages of this race, and MRD is running very well. Now we come up to D55, Island Runner, another 41-foot Apache, similar hull to Lethal Weapon. This white 41 Apache is powered by two starter inboard motors. These have 800 horsepower apiece with Mercury drives, a very strong running boat right here. From Atlantic City, New Jersey, this boat is owned and throttled by Frank Kerbeck. Herb Statler is your driver, and Al Chapchian is your navigator, also from the Atlantic City area. Statler hailing from Fort Lauderdale. So these gentlemen make up the Island Runner race team. Island Runner looking very strong right now. He needs to have a good finish today as we move toward the World Championships coming up in Atlantic City. And on the outside of Island Runner, that was Shockwave, who we saw earlier on, that they went by. And that's Johnny Red, another smaller boat in the race right now, being passed by D55 Island Runner. And when everyone is at the World Championships in Atlantic City, all racers and race fans should certainly stop by the World Championships to see one of the 4 Atlantic City locations that they have, where they have Rolls Royces, Lamborghinis, Chevrolets, Panteras, Cadillacs, and don't forget they have 2 R1 Corvettes on display for your viewing pleasure. From Buffalo, New York, D55, the Island Runner race team, owned by Frank Kerbeck from Atlantic City, New Jersey, having a very good run here today in D class. He'll be running with Lethal Weapon, the other Apache. They're presently unofficially running 1 and 2 right now. Lethal Weapon in first, followed by Island Runner in second, who is holding off the hard-charging Gold Rush in third place in D class. So with that, we'll have to see how the cards just unfold for Island Runner as they're trying to chase down Lethal Weapon. Island Runner looking very strong and pretty in the water right now. The Island Runner race team. And that was Ravon, the black-hulled boat that Island Runner just went by. Now we come up on S43, the Ravon race team. This sleek 25-foot black and silver Talon catamaran is powered by 2 200-horsepower Mercury outboard motors. This boat is owned and throttled by Milford Ingemort from Teaneck, New Jersey, and Kevin Brennan is his driver for today's race. This boat has been prepared, basically put back together, by Cody Marine and Dick O'Day, who are riggers of high-performance race boats in the New Jersey area. Milt Ravon having a very fine run, and he's locked in a fierce battle with Insanity and Fastlane in the overall points for stock class. So we'll just have to see how things wind out here today to see who winds up in first. Is it Insanity, Ravon, or Fastlane in the stock division of today's race? From Buffalo, New York, Milt Ravon. On the outside of your picture right there, that's the Gold Rush race team. Ravon is having a very good run, and they look okay at this point in the race. S43, Ravon race team. And coming into your picture, that's B71, the Shockwave race team, who's looking very strong right now. We're going to go from Ravon, and we're going to stay with B71, the Shockwave race team. This is a 30-foot white and turquoise Mirage race hull powered by 2 Bandit racing engines with 575 horsepower apiece. This boat is owned and driven by Rich Tropoli. He's got Scott Langbine on throttles, and Tim Sharkey is your navigator. The Shockwave race team. B-class is certainly a tough one. Joe Scrow and Joe Latona once again are far ahead of the field, dominating in the Fever Race Hull. Alliance, Rare Breed, and Shockwave is in the hunt for points today, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Shockwave is sponsored by Tropoli Collision. They're the 1987 NPBA B-Class champion, and they won the Trump War Offshore. From Toms River, New Jersey, the Shockwave race team is looking very good right now. They're coming to the later stages of the race. They are a little bit back from the lead boats, so they certainly have to make their move right now if they're to be in the top 3 finishes in B-Class. And right now, they've got it down. Tropoli and Langbine are really moving this boat, and we wish them all the best. The Shockwave race team making their move on the lead boats in Buffalo, New York. Now we come back to Tough Enough, and as you can see, our Canadian entry is still in the race. Weigel and Hamill are looking very strong right now, and they're locked in a fierce duel with Wildcat and Pipeline for C-Class. And now we come up on C10, the Wildcat race team. This blue 24-foot skater is powered by 2 Mercury outboard motors, 270 horsepower apiece. This boat is owned and throttled by Dennis Bradley of Burlington, Canada, also a Canadian entry, and Bob Bradley is your driver. The Wildcat race team is in a fierce duel with another fellow Canadian, Tough Enough. And Pipeline is also there. You've got Pipeline, Tough Enough, Wildcat, all dueling for the top 3 spots in C-Class. Very competitive and some very evenly matched boats here today in C-Class. This boat was the 1986 divisional champ in Division 6. So they do have some good racing credentials behind them, and they've come out here today to have a very good run, and they have a lot of Canadian support right here. Buffalo being so close to our Canadian border that many race fans from Canada have come down for today's race in Buffalo, and they're all behind the Wildcat race team. Boat number C10, Dennis Bradley and the Bradleys, Dennis and Rob Bradley, making up the Wildcat race team. Little loose right there, but no problem. They get it back under control. They came up, got up on the rear end there, but came back under control, and they're now heading out just the way they were running before that slight mishap. Really not a problem. Cost them a few seconds, but when you're racing for so many miles and you recover like that, it really isn't going to damage your chances of winning. C10, the Wildcat race team. Now we're going to come up on a D boat. This is D18, the hot race team. This 32-foot white and orange skater is powered by two Johnson V8 outboard motors. Very strong racing motors right there. This boat is owned by Roy Holman. Driving today is Bob Reynolds, and Jim Wambach is on your throttles. And some of the excellent sponsorship that has gone into the hot race team for the 89 campaign has been Kilroy's, Triplex Marina, and Boysen Reeds, who have all come together to make the hot team have a very good year so far for 89. Bob Reynolds is doing a great job with this crew here today, and Jim Wambach is doing a fantastic job on throttling. But right now, D-Class is very tough. Lethal Weapon, Island Runner, having a head-to-head duel in the lead pack. We're coming toward the closing stages of the race, so if Hot's going to make a move, they've got to do it now. Reynolds and Wambach certainly have to make the move right now and try to catch that lead pack of boats as this race is drawing to a close from Buffalo, New York. We wish them all the best. D18, the hot race team. That's hot coming up and going by RC's MRD race team. From hot race team, we go to one of the hottest boats on the circuit all year, the familiar 28-foot all-yellow mantle race hull known as Fever Race Team. This boat is B1. They're your defending champions, and 1989 has been very good to Fever. A second at Newburyport, a first at Rochester, a first at Freeport, a first at Barnegat Bay, and right now they're in first place, and if this remains this way, they'll take a first today and be your overall champion for the high points for North American Championship Series in B class. Is these motors: Richie Zool Power, the Manta Race Hull, Joe Latona, Joe Scrow dominating in Fever Race Team. Let's just watch a true champion do their thing. They're screaming around the race course right now. These motors are running beautifully, and they're just a picture-perfect running of success right now. Joe Scrow's Fever Race Team, throttled by Joe Latona. Right now, another familiar sight. Fever Race Team is going for the finish as they've had in so many races. They're charging hard, Scro and Latona, with Peter Meyer along for the ride today. Great run for these guys, and they are heading for the checkered flag and another victory for the Fever Race Team here in Buffalo, New York. With this win today, well, it really wasn't necessary. They will be your high points champion in the North American Series for B Class. Freeze Frame Video would like to extend a congratulations to Joe Scro and Joe Latona of the Fever Race Team. There you see it, victory in sight. They have taken the checkered flag. Once again, Scro Latona with Peter Meyer aboard, Fever Race Team taking your first place in Buffalo, New York. Now we come up on the red boat, Rare Breed on the outside and Power Hungry on the inside. We're going to stay with B88, the Rare Breed race team. And they are in a hunt right now in B Class with Alliance. Fever already taking the checkered flag, but Alliance and Rare Breed dueling it out for your second and third place finish. This 32-foot Tempest with a Kevlar hull is powered by two Chevy Bandit racing motors with 450 horsepower apiece. This boat is owned by Bill Gifford, who's doing your driving, and Bill Jr. is on your throttles. The Giffords making up the Rare Breed race team. Bill Gifford, along with Bill Gifford Jr., looking very strong right now, and Rare Breed is charging for the finish place flag today, and we'll have to see how it makes out for the second and third place in B Class between Rare Breed, who you see in your picture, and the Alliance race team. From Buffalo, New York, it's the Giffords in Rare Breed race team. At this point in time, Rare Breed is going for third place. Alliance has already crossed the start-finish line, and Rare Breed is making its bid now to lock up third place. The Rare Breed race team. Here you get a good tight shot of the crew of the Rare Breed race team. Bill Gifford and Bill Gifford Jr. tucked away nicely in Rare Breed. Now we come up on Power Hungry, B91. This 27-foot all-white Magnum is powered by two Atlantic Offshore Performance racing motors with 500 horsepower each. This boat is owned by Atlantic Offshore Performance. Driving today is Josh Pipkin. Perry Giantiempo is your throttle man, and Don Ritchie is your navigator. The Power Hungry race team from Buffalo, New York. Many of the boats have already finished. We're in the process of compiling your results for today's race. And right now we go to Chairman of the Board Jr. This A55, it's a 21-foot Apache powered by one Chevy inboard racing motor. This boat is owned by Chairman Racing Corp. This boat is being driven and throttled by John Sabucci from Rochester, New York, and Nuri Sabuchu is your navigator. Nuri is the real chairman of the board, who is racing a national open boat this year. He's already got a first place in Grand Haven in the big boat, but right now he's got his son in chairman of the board, Junior. The Sabuchus, a racing family here today, and they're doing a fantastic job. Nuri brings a lot of fierce competitiveness to the hull of this boat, and he's got his son John doing an excellent job today, driving and throttling chairman of the board, Junior. We've enjoyed covering Nuri's big John Sabucho and Nuri still in that tuck position, cutting down on the wind velocity in this boat. Chairman of the board, Junior. We're going to stay with Chairman of the board, Junior, as they charge toward the finish line. There's Nuri, a good close-up look of John looking over to his dad, Nuri. Nuri doing some direction there, navigating his son into the finish boat, and Nuri is tucked in, total concentration on what is at hand right now, and Chairman of the board, Junior, is charging hard toward the finish line. Chairman of the board, Junior. Right now we're in the process of compiling all our final results for today's race. Many of the racers are in, and already over the radio we have been informed that there has been a protest lodged. It has become apparent that one of the race buoys had come loose on the race course, thus some boats went around it one way and others went around another. So we are going to go with the results that we have been told by the race committee will be the results. This might not correlate with the pictures that you are seeing in your screen. Some of the boats will have checkered flags but will not be officially named as your winners. Well, right now the 1989 Ultra Can-Am Challenge from Buffalo, New York is officially in the record books, and as best as we can be told by the race committee, here are your official results. In A class, taking first place is Chairman of the board